we're going to talk about where to start with this whole, I suppose, conversation around um, like where do we begin with this? Like, what is effective work management? Um, Keeping in mind as well that we may be talking, and we very likely are communicating here to maybe people that have got one or two staff, but they like the idea of growth, but they've always had trouble with it because essentially they don't have processes, like we just got to try and strip this back. And then on the flip side of that, would be speaking with companies that have been around for 10, 15 years, and they've got well, it ain't broke, why try and fix it mindset, and which I say to you guys, pull your head in. There is, without question, better ways to be doing what you're currently doing, which creates better efficiency and a better effectiveness on the delivery of things that you are doing. And I mean, we're probably preaching to the choir because people that are watching this podcast or listening to it, Justin, are in that mindset. But it's important for you guys out there just to please take note here, because like what we're talking about here is relevant to businesses at all levels, and especially if you understand that you either want to move to a different level within your business and where you're currently at, the information that you have, the tools you have, the technology you have, it probably won't be enough to get you to that next stage. And more to the point, like if you're getting to that space where you're starting to grow, as you grow, you will start, if you don't have tools in place, you will without question find things start slipping. And like bigger business, bigger problems. Like when you're a small team and you can be on top of things and you can stand over someone's shoulder, you can crack whips. As you get bigger and bigger, you can't do that. You need processes to be able to make sure that people are doing things correctly. So I'll hand this one back over to you, Justin. Getting started with these business systems, work management, over to you.
Cool. Yeah, I really like that point you were mentioning earlier around culture and getting people who are coming into the company to a certain point of kind of being on board with everything and following the procedures. I'll talk to that in a little bit, but I just wanted to point that out. There's only a couple of places where you get to influence that, and it's really important that we take advantage of those. But starting with the very basics, kind of like the foundations of what are we talking about? What is this all about? There's probably three basics that lead up to the need for some sort of tool. And if you can go all in and get like a nice tech tool that's going to grow with you, fantastic. If you're not there for it yet, just start with the whiteboard, fine. You'll grow, it's all good. So the very first one is get it out of your head and off your mind. This is really big. Our default is to have everything that we need to remember in our head. Everything that we know is in our head. And that can work in some basic ways, but it's a really terrible storage system. As soon as we get distracted or some sort of emergency comes up, it all just leaves. And we also take it home with us. So we're trying to, we're spending all night with our families or friends thinking, I must remember that tomorrow. I must remember that tomorrow. And it's just, it creates a worse quality of life. So we want to get things out of our head. At the end of the day, we want to be not remembering anything and have that be okay, because we're going to have it all there for us tomorrow. So the second one that makes it happen is write it down, make it unforgettable. So things that are outside of our head, obviously the benefits I mentioned before, we're not carrying it around with us, but also when it's written down, it can't be changed. It can't be kind of half forgotten or adapted in our head. It's kind of clear, and we can come back to it the following morning. We know exactly what it is. We're also outside of the idea rather than inside of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but ideas are easier to work with, manipulate, and prioritize when we can see them from the outside, rather than trying to do it all inside of our head. So first one, figure it out. First one is get it out of your head. Second one is write it down. Third one is to put it in an organized public space so that everyone can be on the same page. So lots of people have to-do lists, and they're really helpful for not forgetting things. But a to-do list is not the same as a collaborative workspace or a work management tool, because your team can't see it. If everyone has their own to-do lists, still no one's connecting. The business is still not running smoothly. So what we want to do is put that in a public place so everyone can see, okay, this is my bit, this is your bit, this is the bit that's coming up next week. This is the bit we're having trouble with. Let's get some help on that. By having it all in the same place, people can figure out like, oh, I didn't think we were doing that. Like I have some issue with that, and that will become surfaced. And we can actually talk about that. So by having it public, we all kind of end up aligning on the one plan, and having that alignment is really, really important. So those are the basics.
I think that collaborative aspect as well is really powerful as your business grows, because like in the early stages, and I'll take my own business, for example, like I went through and I created all the checklists and I created all the SOPs for, the projects. But like as the business grows, I'm not the one doing it. So there's people out there that are actually in the trenches and finding better ways to do things. And and again, breeding a culture into helping people understand and giving them permission to voice, and contribute to the evolution of these checklists and of these processes. Like that's a really powerful thing for the team member, because they love to be heard. And it's also powerful for you because it's essentially making you redundant. So I encourage you guys out there. I mean, you need to have frameworks around this. You can't just give people free reign, with updating processes and all that kind of stuff. But you certainly want to be in a situation where you've got a process, you've got a framework around letting people contribute, letting people be part of the evolution of the product. Like Justin's coming into our organization, and he's working directly with the team members, because if he's just coming to me, like I'm no use to him. I don't know what's happening down there in development. I don't know what's happening down there in SEO or whatever it might be. So like he needs to be speaking with the people that are in the trenches to make sure that when these processes are being created, that it's being created from the people that are actually doing it. He's getting the real feedback from that part of the business. And it's the same for you guys out there. Like it's all great sending your techs out to do a job and telling them how to do things, but you need to understand that there's probably, if they're out there doing it every day, there's a damn good chance they're going to come up with a better way to do it than you sitting in the office, doing the office managerial things, right? So just understand that and be receptive of it. Sorry to interrupt.
No. And you mentioned the word feedback there. Feedback's a really big thing. So you've got feedback with process improvement, and that's really important, but also just the day-to-day, like what tasks do we actually need to do? Your team are going to have feedback on, hey, actually, that one's not so important because of the client told me this thing that no one else has heard. Or actually, hey, we need to do this extra thing because, again, I have information that no one else has. Unless that information is being funneled in to basically the plan, like that information needs to be added to the plan. Otherwise, things are going to go to hell. Like there's going to be stuff missed all over the place.
And I mean, and that sort of thinking as well, like how fast technology moves and things like that. There's always new products, or there's new, things being added to products. There might be a new feature added to a hot water system or whatever it might be, which means that process may very well need to be adapted. And you guys that are in the office, you may not even know about that, right? Like they might just go pick up a new heater and go, oh wow, look, this this valve's changed, or whatever it might be, right? So be receptive to that.